Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. What a majestic view. This is the real power of love. And I'm very glad to be here. And I'm very privileged to actually sit here and listen to Christiana, Dr. Wyming, and other wise people. And we should call it also not only the Parliament of World Religions, but Parliament of the Wise. And I'm very glad to be here. We all know by now that climate change is the most systemic danger to humankind. And that has been demonstrated by everybody. And it will be impacting the way we live, the way we build our cities, the way we grow our food, and where we settle and so on. But also, we know, and especially after the IPCC report, that climate change is moving faster than we have known or we thought it is moving. And indeed, it is moving faster than our own responses. A couple of weeks ago, Mr. Antonio Guterres said that the tsunami of data that we are learning about would require a storm of concern. And this is how this issue of climate change is affecting and will be affecting us for decades to come. And I come to you with grief in my heart. 21 innocent souls a week or so ago were lost in my home country, Jordan. 17 of them were kids below 16 years of age, and they were going on a school trip. And within 20 minutes, 50 times the rate of rainfall, of the annual rainfall rate in that area, fell in 20 minutes. And that can only be attributed to climate change. But I also come to speak to you with hope and optimism that we are talking about the power of love to overcome the love for power, which have actually led us to where we are today. In the last 60 years, 40% of civil wars were over natural resources, over land, over oil, soil, and so on and so forth. And with climate change, expect that to be much worse. Again, I would like to quote the Secretary General when he said, the Stone Age did not end because we ran out of stones, but because we found alternatives. And this is exactly the case where we are looking for alternatives, and we do have alternatives for the carbon-based economies. Our problem is that we do not, or we know actually what we want, but we are not fast in employing or implementing what we know to save our planet Earth. We need to integrate the values, the ethics, the morals, our belongings to this Mother Earth into whatever we do, into the decision makings that we do on every single day that is affecting the lives of the people. We need to understand the urgency of the matter. As Christiana said, we do not have the luxury of time. We cannot try things out, and we have to act now. And fortunately enough, the private sector, for example, have already started their work into integrating sustainability into their operations and in finding innovative ways to do so. And especially when it is related to conserving energy and use of renewable energy and so on. But let's think beyond energy. Let's think of every single thing that we do. Let's think of the houses that we build. Are they using sustainable sources of energy? Are we recycling our own waste or water that is wasted in that house? Are we producing our own organic food for our houses, for ourselves, and for the neighborhoods? Are we recycling what we want to recycle, or are we thinking of the circular economy? Are we mainstreaming our activities, or are we launching initiatives here and there? We cannot live on initiatives. You know, Agenda 2030 has a 15-year span and a timeline to achieve sustainable development. But faith has eternity as their goal. We cannot think of the next generation only, but we need to think of all generations until eternity. This should be our plan, and this is how we should treat our Mother Earth. I believe innovation needs to be the norm, not the exception. We cannot accept that we wait some innovation here and there. We have to integrate innovation into everyday practices, not only technologically speaking, but also in management of our natural resources, in processes, in everything else that we do. We do not lack the scientific knowledge or know-how. What we lack is the determination to implement now and here those innovations, those scientific findings, those practices, and mainstream them into everyday's work. But let me turn into faith-based organizations. Faith-based organizations own 8% of the habitable land on Earth. They own 5% of all commercial forests. They own 50% of schools and universities worldwide. They own 10% of total financial institutions. They own 13% of community development corporations. So faith-based organizations are major players into achieving sustainable development. And we need to practice what we preach. We need our houses of worship to be models and examples of how we are telling our neighbors and people that they should conserve energy, that they should conserve water, and so on. So we need to practice what we preach. Today, we are meeting here at the World's Parliament of World Religions, and in March 2019, we will be holding, the UN Environment will be holding the Parliament for the Environment, which is called the UN Environment Assembly, where thousands and thousands of people from decision makers, private sector, civil society, and those who are concerned will be meeting. But why? To take decisions and resolutions that will change the way governments behave or act or implement sustainable development or pollution combating or climate change or what have you. So what I would like to call upon the Board of Trustees of the Parliament of World Religions to send a message, a clear message to the decision makers who will be taking decisions that will shape the things we do, and to integrate faith values, morals, and ethics into their decisions. And I would like to call upon you all, as God Almighty asked Noah to build the ark to save lives, to save animals, and to save earth. I would like to call upon you to establish that ark now and here to save our Mother Earth. Thank you very much.